I stand before you today, a free man, no chains, no masters.
His fourth day of rallies and protests on the streets of Los Angeles.
It was a peaceful rally. What is going on right now is also peaceful.
Here we are expecting rallies later on.
When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
In Los Angeles, there is a new crowd of protesters that has been building.
CNN had it that these were rallies. Now they've become protests. I'm afraid that by tonight they become riots. If we don't have the ability to stand up...
We talk about like the age of information. What we really are in right now is an entertainment age.
They still want to shoot you. They killed Charlie Kirk. They praised it. They want Donald Trump. They want Chirachik. They want anyone they associate with the right. They want to kill them. They brag about this. They continue on with this. It's been over a month and they're still going on about it. At some point, you got to say, hey, maybe that's me too.
Hello world champions, I'm John Ward, and today on Breaking News we are breaking the fake lie continuum. Get ready for 1.21 gigawatts McFly, because your mind is a boomer expat and this episode is the Bangkok Ladyboy Softball Club, and hardballs are also okay too, also that club. Sorry, we know good English! And what I mean by that is, not only is your mind about to be blown more times than a lead in a LeBron James Finals series, it's gonna get blown in ways you don't want it to. A horror in the midst of which you will realize this is the real soul crusher. You're paying for it.
A free man, no chains, no
compromise, but it is a compromise nonetheless going to have to be made if we are to ever revamp and rework the system, ultimately in an attempt to circumvent any kind of violent revolution.
This is the future. There is nothing left for us to do. They have taken it away from, they have stolen it from us. They are thieves. They have no idea what is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Sunday episode of NAV, a new founding. We're going to be talking about Thanksgiving this week. It's Thanksgiving. Congratulations, you're going to get fat if you aren't already.
You bastard.
But no, we want to thank you for being here. 1, 2, if you don't mind, go ahead and liking the stream. I know a lot of you in here haven't done that already, so go ahead and do that. The ways to support NAV, we would appreciate that. There's a merch link in the description. There is also a membership link in the description, and if I can get a mod to toss that membership link in the chat too. And then super chats. Send in super chats. We will answer those as they come up. Got 3 people with us here with me today in studio. I have the Josh from the North.
How's it going, everybody? Glad to be here.
And the big PA, John.
Hi.
World champion Ward. And then I'm not going to dox Atlas unless he wants to. Thank you for being here.
What's going on? Racially ambiguous groper. Here we are.
From Saudi Arabia.
But
right.
that is your panel for today. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. Maybe a little brief outline of the episode. We're going to be talking about Thanksgiving, but I want to give a precursor to kind of before the settlement came about, before like 1600, if you will, and the state of the country, the state of the land, if you will. There's going to be a lot of definitions that questionable. What's Mojus? John Ward and his Mojus. We're going to be kind of discussing that a little bit today as we go through this. And so we're going to talk about that. The first Thanksgiving, what that looked like. A lot of this stuff will sound familiar to you. And then there's a little bit more in depth that I would like to go into. As I was researching for this episode, I had a bunch of stuff going through my mind. So I'm gonna try to get that out as we go through this. And hopefully there's some thought-provoking insight into this. I'm just maybe I'm a genius or maybe I'm a retard. I don't know. You tell me as we go throughout this. So we're gonna start it off basically This is not the updated version, is it? Give me 1 second.
Womp womp.
Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and read this off.
Boy can.
Here we go. Basically a summary. Here we go. When the Pilgrims arrived in New England in 1620, they entered a world shaped by complex indigenous traditions, some familiar and some profoundly foreign to European eyes. Their Christian worldview led them to pay close attention to the spiritual practices around them, and as they recorded their observations, they frequently compared what they witnessed or heard against their own religious values. As a result, the Pilgrims were naturally cautious when assessing the cultures they encountered. Yet in the religion surrounding the Plymouth, they found the local tribes such as the Wampanoag, the Narragansett, Pigute, and Massachusetts did not practice human sacrifice and other rituals that Europeans might have considered extreme. The spiritual life of southern New England was focused on seasonal ceremonies, offerings of food or tobacco, and efforts to maintain balance with nature, which the Pilgrims tend to view as less threatening than the harsher practices known in other parts of the world and other parts of America of the time. Still, the Pilgrims were aware through reports of explorers, traders, and other later English accounts that some indigenous groups further south engaged in customs that Europeans saw unsettling or dangerous. The Nachetes, the Nachos, for example, is in what is now Mississippi, followed a tradition which attendants of a deceased chief voluntarily joined in him in death. Likewise, Spanish chroniclers in Florida describe the Timucunu participate. Listen, dude, I'm not dot nor feather, so we're gonna get through
worst
this.
possible thing for you to be trying to reading is.
Well, you want to take over, Mr. Ward?
I mean, I don't. This is.
It's entertainment. It's entertainment. That's what the people come here to see if I can read the things.
Look, the nachos join their chief in death. It's just like eating gas station nachos. You share it with your friend. There's a non-real. You're both dying from E. coli.
Absolutely.
We joined the chief in death of Tribe Nacho.
Although these traditions were not directly connected to New England, news of them were contributed to broader English sense that caution and vigilance were necessary when navigating these relationships with unfamiliar peoples. Importantly, these southeastern groups lived far beyond the Pilgrim sphere of contact. The Wampanoag, with whom the colonists forged their earliest alliance, shared no cultural political ties with societies like Nachos. The Pilgrims' relationships in New England developed instead with tribes whose practices were comparatively moderate by European standards. This helped make cooperation possible, especially under leadership of Massote, whose diplomacy provided the stability both peoples needed. For the Pilgrims who were striving to build a godly community in a land full of unknowns, distinguish between peaceful neighbors and potentially dangerous customs elsewhere was essential. While they remained wary of unfamiliar spiritual traditions, their direct experiences in New England showed them that the Wampanoag and the neighboring tribes did not engage in the more extreme rituals found in distant religions. This understanding helped lay the groundwork for the early peace that shaped the colony's survival. A couple of things came to mind as I was researching this and putting this together is that we have a general understanding, as I read out multiple times, that there was mass human sacrifice happening. And I'm not going to say that there wasn't any, but there was, and it was more extreme elsewhere. And I think this was what enabled the Pilgrims and the early settlers to establish a place, because there was some type of cordiality that was going on, some type of tolerance, if you will. Maybe we should learn a thing or two from that. And so going forward, we need to understand that, was it tribal? Yes, but the tolerance is what enabled the settlers to be there. And I got a couple more things I want to pick up on as we go throughout this, but I'd like to open the floor up to anybody that wants to take a shot.
You're living on stolen land.
Unchecked immigration did not work out well for the Nachos, Zeb. That's what
it didn't? That's shocking, dude. Maybe
there was definitely a group of Native Americans, Indians, whatever we're calling them, that were very humanitarian and welcoming and saw further than us. They're all dead now.
I thought they made like a tear trail when we sent them that way.
Yeah, it's a famous old German story. They got kidnapped by a witch, so they left a trail of tears through the woods for the huntsman to follow or something like that's the story, right?
Supposedly.
I'll take a blanket. Hold the tuberculosis, please.
Tuberculosis.
Ate all their tears and they were forever lost on a reservation. Sad story. Sad. Who does the Trump impression? Very
It's a sad story. It's a sad story. The nachos. No more cheese for the nachos. They're all gone. What do they call
Now
what
we
was that
have
one?
casinos.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah, casinos, yeah. But yeah, I mean that's the primary takeaway I had is that their tolerance of a foreign peoples onto their land enabled that foreign people to conquer the land. And so if you want to say, which the vast majority of liberals, and I would argue a lot of boomers do this, they say us driving the Indians out of the land was bad. Like if that's bad, then what is happening now is also bad. And so what do you do about it? Continue to let it happen? The answer is obviously no. And even beyond that, I would say that I would say it wasn't bad. I would say ridding the land of demon worshipers is okay. In fact, it's good. Maybe worshiping demons shouldn't be allowed.
I would argue that power struggles are neutral. I don't think that you could say it's good or bad, right? I think it's the implication there would be if it's good, you would have to argue that God said it was good. And I think that's a hard kind of claim to make without him, in the presence of it. The same thing applies for all things, right? All things are fair in love and war. And I think it's a very kind of first world way to view things. Now, obviously, I'm not pro war crimes, but I do think it's a very first world perspective to have to look back at any of these events that happened using the 21st century perspective without being, taking into context the way that they lived back then and the fact of, average life expectancy, they wanted to do this, they found it honorable. And we outsource our masculinity to police and things. And so it's hard for us to understand just how much like warfare and fighting other individuals and like protecting your own land actually meant to two different people groups. We just live in a different time from now.
Yeah, I mean, there's some parts of native cultures that I at least ostensibly respect. Like we all know the word brave and what it means, and I think we'd consider it a positive term. We know where that came from. It was all the young native males. Their whole value in the tribe was their bravery, their willingness to go charge into a row of guns. Didn't work out great, but damn, they were some brave motherfuckers, so much that the name became they were scary to the settlers. I mean, because they just didn't give a fuck. So I respect that. There was certain cultures or certain elements of certain nations like Iroquois, like probably would have had a beer with them. They probably wanted to kill. They were probably us. They were probably having a fucking podcast about how they need to kill all these round eyes, which is, by the way, the racist. Fucking great insult. It's the only thing. I mean, they all make me laugh, but we're round eyes. They were kind of looking. So I don't know. Time is a flat circle.
We reap what we sow, I guess. Is this Zeb? Is this payback time? Is this payback time? Are the Indians are they getting back at us through? The South Americans, like the deep South Americans, are basically the Aztecs. Are we getting what we deserve, Zeb?
What we deserve for what? Not completely ridding them in the first place.
I'm gonna say
that's a take. That's a take.
You reap what you sow, especially if you put a fish in the hole that you're planting.
Nice.
It's a great joke.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think they get too many reparations if we're talking about current day.
Oh, easy.
Right? Not ridding the land entirely of the demon worshipers when you get here is probably something we should take forward. Right? If we're going to colonize a land, let's not leave the demon worshipers to worship the demons and then pay them and give them the land afterwards.
Where did this concept of reparations come from? too. Like, who started it, right? What was the first war that was lost? And they were like, "Oh, we feel so bad. We beat the shit out of you." Well,
I
you know,
think
here's like money. We'll fund you for the next 30 years. Like, where did that come from, right? It's so
well,
that's
nonsensical. It's like you lost.
yeah,
We're not going to
if
pay
you
you.
look at modern times, all those senses of guilt come from achieving total dominance and luxury. It's like once you've essentially totally won, only then do you have the luxury to feel bad for the people you just beat the shit out of. You know what I mean?
Well, I think
Unless
it's very much a
unless they're
European
Ivan
thing.
Drago.
Unless you're
Only
Ivan
Ivan
Drago.
Drago got it. He said if he dies, he dies. To Apollo Creed. Come on, lots of pop culture.
Well, it's
references.
definitely a European thing. I mean, I would say well, Drago was Russian, wasn't he? But I would say, I mean, it's definitely a European thing to rebuild the thing after you destroy it for the people, for the very people that you destroyed it about, right? Look at World War II in Japan. I mean, we rebuilt Japan, and now we have cities around us that are just crumbling inside of the United States. So it's definitely a European thing. Sorry, is that me? But yeah, I mean, I guys kind of take it back. What? Wrong camera. Boom. Here we go.
Right, Cam.
Right camera. But yeah, to take it back a little bit more. Yeah, I think given that the people around them were very tolerant of the time, they were tribal in their own right. Don't get me wrong. And they probably fought wars with the tribes around them. There's no issue with that. Were they savages? Absolutely. Did they sit on the ground and eat the dirt? Yes. But what we have to understand is they were tolerant of external cultures. And what happened eventually was that these two things cannot coexist. And it's a experiment that has been ran many times over, and it always fails. And this multiculturalism, whether it's 2 cultures or 72, it's always going to fail.
I honestly think it mirrors modern times even more than that, because number one, it wasn't like every Indian tribes person immediately just went and tried to help the European settlers. It was such a specific few that we know their names in many cases. Like Squanto is a big one, right? Sure. So how similar I find myself thinking to now, it's not like every American, even every liberal, is actively involved, although they're agreeing with it by voting for it, but they're not actively involved in importing these people that will lead to our demise. There's probably also a specific number of our quote unquote tribe that are sneaking off in the night, telling them how to throw fishes in their corn planting holes. And it's like a tipping point where like again, Europeans probably wouldn't have even survived on the new continent. In most of the early cases, they didn't, right? Jamestown, etc. Without help from the natives who teach them how to live with all these new plants and animals they've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Once they were taught to a degree that they no longer needed native help is when things started getting bad for the natives. And so now we have so the fish with the corn is like the earliest form of American welfare there might have ever been.
Yeah.
I guess the curious.
Go ahead, Atlas. I'll let you take it.
I was going to say the curious thing with that, my immediate thought goes to and why is that, right? Why is it that Europeans on almost every case where they go and they find or discover new technology or some kind of mechanic, some kind of physic that they have yet to interact with, it's the European that takes it to the next level, right? It's like, why do the Indians are the ones that leave it, right? The Europeans are the ones that later on are like, well, we can make it better doing this. And what if we started doing it like this? And it's like, it seems that these other cultures stay in the rut.
I think higher IQs are thinking categorically. So say you're from Germany and you understand that to survive, you need to plant certain type of crops that are carbohydrates. You need to kill certain type of animals. You need to make sure they don't have parasites. You need to know how to make a fire. If you have a knowledge of the concepts, you can be placed in any environment and through trial and error, as long as you can survive long enough to do the trial and error, you'll figure out, oh, corn and potatoes are these new things I've never seen. But that's, there's our.
It's same but different.
Deer and squirrels. There's our meat. Or certain ones that do and don't have parasites. And yeah, I think what I see happen otherwise is I don't know, Somalian immigrants just try to turn it into Somalia, and they need help until it's just identical to Somalia, where literally it is Somalian meat and Somalian plants and Somalia. If they can create a bubble that is Somalia again, then they're there. Whereas European settlers, like it was German, it was English, there's nowhere in America that is still, they didn't just remake England and remake Germany. I mean, so, here and there for short whiles, but it's now wholly American, very distinctly different than the European stock from which all of us descended. So it's almost like categorically we looked at it and made something new using principles rather than just the only way maybe Jamestown was like, that's why those settlements failed, is because they tried to just transplant, and bring their own shit, and it just didn't work right away. I don't know.
Well,
just guess.
I think that's a good question. Is like how long? Because obviously, I don't think the settlers from the first Pilgrims got there and immediately created something that was totally different from England. Well, not completely different, still European nonetheless. But how long did it take before it was identified as this is something distinct from our ancestral heritage across the pond? You know what I mean? And like, is this something? Given enough time, obviously we don't want to run this experiment, but with the Somalians coming here by John's example, will they eventually become something distinct from Somalia? I think that's a good question.
Well, on that point, there's a guy named Insopa. What's his name? Prosopa Insights.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
killing me.
Yep.
That does like physiognomy breakdowns, and he was basically explaining that. I mean, even the American blacks have a 5 type phenotype that is separate completely from the Africans. And so, I guess to answer Josh's point, I don't really know specifically that answer, but it will come, and it's probably going to happen faster than not, right? So if you have the flood of Somalis into a singular land, that isolation away from Somalia is going to create something independent. You can look at something like Ireland, where the Irish are British, essentially, that broke apart and they were isolated within a land. You can look at something like even within the United States, you can look at Mormons that are very isolated peoples that are distinctly different than the rest of us.
The Irish are British, huh, Zeb?
Well, they're European. They all come from the same stock of people. Would you agree? Would you disagree, John?
I don't want to get into the waves of natural immigration in Ireland. I was just being a dick.
But the point stands, right? We can look at Mormons.
Well, yeah, wouldn't you agree that American blacks are quite distinct now, several hundred years later, than Africans? I mean,
absolutely.
It's predominantly diet, I believe, is what it's largely attributed to. It's like the biggest kind of direct change and almost immediate. And then secondarily, it's the industrial working force aspect of it too. They went from being what's that? KFC? No. Well, there was a bit obviously with the selective sexual breeding with like the eugenics going on with like the selection for the slave marketplace. That accelerated certain things as well too, which is why you see the quick twitch like white muscle cells in like athletes as well.
Get the mandingos.
Boston Royd 4434 is sort of using the metaphor for Europeans. It's like they had a European model of truck, and then they moved to America and built an American model.
What the
of
heck?
Truck.
Whoa!
Thanks, Zeb. Love it.
Go ahead.
Zeb boy can predict.
What is going on here?
All the parts of an internal combustion engine, for the most part. This is different now, but back in the day, like once you could fix one car, you could fix pretty much any car. That's kind of what I was trying to say with the with understanding like models and how they're variable parts. You can, the fucking spark
the
plug
Industrial Revolution
might be in a different spot and look a little different, but you still know to like look for the spark plug first when your fucking car doesn't start. That kind of thing.
Yeah, extrapolate concepts and apply them to separate categories.
Which was even pre-Henry Ford, right? Who was the first? Henry Ford, I know, was largely deemed as one of the top people who started pushing that, obviously, with the Model T. But I believe there was another industry that took off with industrialization before Ford. I think that was sewing.
standardized
believe
part
blooming.
in that production was Henry Ford's big thing is
Assembly
standardizing
line.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have it in any color you want, so long as it's black. That was the Ford slogan. That's what he said.
Funny enough, Henry
He's
Ford
eating
had
those words
attempts
now.
on his life.
He's talking about
From
cars.
who, Atlas?
We don't have to get into it, but Henry Ford did have attempts on his life. He got ran off the road, and his wife had to beg to him to stop publishing in the Dearborn Independent, actually, because of what he was talking about was
What? He wrote
giving
some
him death
book.
threats.
Yeah, he wrote
Yes,
a, he
it was
wrote
a
a book. He
Yep.
wrote a book.
Which
So
I believe
he-
they sought out to destroy afterwards. All 60,000 copies that were sold, they sought out and they burned all of them. I don't know if there's any left, actually.
Whoa. Book burnings. That's only the bad guys do that, I thought.
Something like that.
Something like that. But kind of let me get us back on page a little bit. I got an excerpt from a fantastic documentary that's called 1607, The Virginia Project, and they kind of touch on this idea coming over. We're not going to listen to the whole thing. It's like an hour and a half. It's a fantastic documentary. We're going to get in. Let me pull it up here. Get it ready. I'm just going to watch a few minutes of it to kind of get us on track to wherever.
That guy is the most Amish American I've ever seen in my life. Lord have mercy.
The Amish, good example, Atlas.
That guy-
The Amish.
That guy's name is Jebsha.
Jedediah.
All right, no more interruptions.
Hold on.
Audio.
Yeah, where's the audio? Hold on. 2 seconds.
We do it differently in South Kakalaki.
Where is my audio? This is
I think the audio is coming out on YouTube, though. They're hearing it.
no, it's not. Here, y'all talk for a second. I got to fix that audio.
We
How about
Say
have
words.
You want me to try to lip
Hey, Will.
read them?
Oh, was it coming out on YouTube? Give me 1 second.
we
Pretty sure.
got all right.
Yeah, it is coming.
Perfect.
Okay, what is
It's
going
actually
on?
not.
All right. Anyway, I quit.
I was just
Anyway.
double checking.
Anyway, fail.
Summarize what happens there. What was the relevant part of it?
Let's do this. I'll fix it. I'll make it all better
The Indians
right now.
were like,
Oh,
give me some
behind the-
food. And we were like, sure, buddy.
Where's
and then we
my-
all high-fived, watched some football, went home, and everything has been fine ever since.
It looked like you were doing a screen capture.
I was through
I don't know if
OBS.
that-
Audio should have been fine, but it's not. Here we go.
First Thanksgiving, it was actually held in Virginia in 1619. That group of people really established how we thought of America. And you look at the literature that was being produced for people to come over to the Americas. It was a glorious representation of what America could be. It was this wonderful place to grow crops, to have families, to make money. When you think about American enterprise, ingenuity, and all the things that we think of as America, that really comes out of Virginia more than anywhere else, at least initially. When you look at the very difficult conditions these people lived in, and of course your first major American hero comes out of Jamestown, that's Captain John Smith. There's no Virginia without John Smith. Smith's relationship with the local Indian tribes and very famous, Chief Powhatan is a great story. A lot of it's embellished.
But Pocahontas is a very important person in Virginia history because of things that happened later. She ends up marrying John Rolfe. Rolfe, of course, is the guy who identified tobacco as Virginia.
That's about it. I mean, it wasn't much. It was just, I just want to plug the documentary a little bit. Let me go to Fort Man. Plug the documentary a little bit and kind of touch on, like, he was mentioning how they had it rough. It was rough. One, it was rough coming over on the Mayflower. Two, it was rough getting here, trying to, one, live on your own until you got the Indians, but they weren't the Mayflower, and that wasn't the first trip that they made over here. A lot of the Indians already spoke English by the time they got here, right? We know that Christopher Columbus was back in 1492, and even before then. So good.
He was teaching English in
well, just Europeans coming over.
Hispaniola.
In 1992.
1492 was also a good year for Spain too. So
yeah, golden age. But they got a real one.
The Goldstein age.
But
well, a couple of things I wanted to say just off of that alone. I mean, think about the difference there. The first one in the old kind of application is think about right now, if like you looked out, you arrive on shore and you meet the guy who was there in Jamestown and he's a coordinator. He's like, hey, you're the Shepherd family. Hey, listen, man, any pasture out there south of that tree, it's yours. If you can claim it, you put a fence around it, it's yours. You make it workable, it's yours. And we don't have that anymore. Now it's everything's owned, everything's bought. And inversely, going to the modern application of that, pretty much in most populations, most demographics in history, when there'd be a certain period of time where whether they were, under or being oppressed, one of the options available to them would be, well, they would relocate. They'd be like, okay, we're going to take our peoples and we're going to go elsewhere. Well, that's also not on the table for a lot of populations as well. And so this is kind of like what I was thinking too, to a certain degree, with Arval and Michael Johnson, which is, what if white people were to take the option of like, well, wait, we have to abandon America, right? The Nons have taken over. White people are going to get genocided. We don't have the option, right? It's like, it's not on the table. Where are we going to go? New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Australia? Like, there's nowhere else to take. There's no more new land. Like a whole new kind of change to the dynamic.
Well, we're obviously going to Agartha. That's the only place left for us to go to. But yeah, not to Alice's point. Yeah, I mean, we have to stand and fight. That's the only option that we have at this point. Any other country you go to that's not America and is largely white or is going to be relatively safe is it's in the same situation, if not fairly soon it will be. And maybe there's like some slight pockets over there on in Eastern Europe, but I'm an American. I will stand here and fight. I'm not going to flee to Israel when it gets a little thick, boys. But
I do think, though, if it came down to it, where essentially white people, there was a few enough amount where they basically had to flee to somewhere. If it was like, okay, all the remaining white people in the world, we're all going to New Zealand. If it got to that point, which is not ideal, I think the white people that exist in that point in time and in that situation would be a little less squeamish about, as we are today, about, getting rid of the natives. It would be a bad day for the Maori is what I'm getting at.
Well,
sorry, Django Fett.
A point should be made. New Zealand, the whites were there before the Maori were there. So
really?
Yes, that is a
correct
correct
Well,
statement.
and it happened in America anyways. The Mormons
Damn it, John. You're being very disruptive, John.
Yes, I was being racist as well. I want to be clear about that. Few people know that the haka was created by white British men. They were just being
we typically do things better.
And the natives thought it was some magical thing, and so they're just poorly imitating a drunk guy from like 300 years ago. They thought it was
I believe that?
All right, hold on.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
The Maori just like didn't exist. They were like normal, and then we were like, hey, are you guys like Indians? And they were like, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Is that what happened? Is that the story of New Zealand?
Yes.
Just saw some detailing. Like, hey, that's pretty good.
I like face paint.
No, well, I was going to bring up the Mormon element. There's a good movie. It's obviously super Hollywoodized, but the Mormons, they were basically oppressed from the west side of America all the way, or from the east side of America all the way out to the west, and they get benefits from it now. I mean, think of Utah. Funny enough, I got a job in insurance about a couple of years ago, and it was based in Utah, so a lot of my early contacts were out of Utah. And no joke, they would tell you don't call on Sunday. You make your day off Sunday, because if you try to call on Sunday, you ain't gonna get nothing done. And so they have benefits of that kind of culture where it's Mormonism's a bit ubiquitous, but they're homogenous in the sense that they kind of have a majority there. Something that you don't see throughout the rest of America. It's a bit more.
Well, they escaped too. They were persecuted in the East, maybe rightfully so. I don't know. I don't want to judge, but they just said, God gave us this land. I had a dream in Utah. Let's just go claim it. And it was there. And they just went and lived there. Another thing you can't do anymore to that point.
Well, it's crazy because the Mormons teamed up with certain factions of native tribes, and then the U.S. government teamed up with other factions of the native tribe. And we were using them as intelligence against each other to kind of figure out where the Mormons were moving and stuff. Kind of a forgotten piece of history.
Brigham Young and his famous descendant, Steve Young. quarterback of the 49ers. True story.
They were vicious
Steve Young,
dudes.
he played at BYU. That's where all the Mormons go, Brigham Young University.
Sports ball.
I didn't know we had some Mormon historians in the house today.
You gotta read about
greatest
Mormonism,
BYU
man.
player of all time.
It's fascinating. And it's really an inspiring story. It makes you realize that no matter how bad your life can get, you can just go into the woods, come out of it, nothing in your hands, and go, I have invisible golden discs. And like some people will come follow you. Like it'll work.
Yeah. If you have enough charisma, anything's possible. Always
Just
be
gotta
aura maxing.
Keep a straight face. That's where I keep failing. Can't be like golden disc. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
You have to sell it to him. You got to be a good marketer.
Just gotta fucking get that psycho. You gotta get that Daniel Day-Lewis face on. You gotta method act.
They're like, whoa.
But we don't have
whoa,
that
you
anymore,
don't
though.
think I saw the angel Gabriel spoke to me in a dream? What are you, retarded?
Yeah. I think Daniel Day-Lewis is the greatest actor of all time. I just imagine how good Joseph Smith was. Holy shit. You'd have like 20 straight Oscars by now.
That's pretty funny, dude.
Again, derailed the entire conversation. My bad.
DEI always gets an award.
No, you're good, dude. We need some opposition.
Are you picturing Joseph Smith holding an Oscar right now? I bet it would be an invisible golden Oscar too.
That's good.
I have golden plate. Okay, I'm the one with the golden plate. Obey me.
What's it? Read it. Can you read it to us?
That's my deport gong.
Deport. All right, I believe it. Let's make a religion out of it.
Deport.
Yeah, something. That
Make a religion out of it. Let's go. I'll call it ice. Real ice.
The holy text. That plate.
Real ice.
Well,
all right.
One other thing I would add, if we were to go back, be serious on it, would be the fact that where a lot of people kind of point to America being a Christian nation, they go right to the Constitution as if that was the beginning of what America was, and it actually starts like hundreds of years before that. And you look at like the state charters, the way that these towns were organized, the way that they had the state churches, were later on culminations of like the different town charters. And you can find the original ones, right? You can find the original charter of Plymouth. You can find the original charter of Jamestown. All these different ones that don't exist anymore or were absorbed and became Massachusetts, etc. We honor God. We honor Jesus Christ. Jesus is Lord. It's like you'll find Jesus's name in the first like 500 words of most of these charters. And the idea that somehow this group of people that continued that and pushed for it and maintained that culture somehow didn't govern, and like it's not a Christian nation. It's like, it's just such a flawed argument, and to only make that point, you have to omit so much context for it to make sense. With the full context, you go, oh yeah, these were clearly a Christian people.
Yeah, and to that point, Atlas, I watched that little segment a second earlier. They were talking about how much propaganda was being published over there in Europe, was being sent back. Hey, you can provide, you can excel here in Christ, right? They were trying to get, a large part of them, a large wave of it was trying to escape the Catholic Church and what was going on over there to be a Protestant over here. And then later on, you had some of the Catholics come and establish, was it Massachusetts? It was Massachusetts, but, and some of those, but even then, you had that, even from the foundation, not only was it wasn't freedom of a religion, but it was a freedom to be whatever Christian denomination that you wish to be, which I think is an important distinction from, hey, let's allow the savages to worship the demons as they will. Instead, it was, let's create a culture, let's be Christians, let's have some type of unity across the board, let's build from there. And if we can have unity with the people, then we can. But if not, we start being attacked by the tribal people, then, well, we have to tribe up.
Right. Well, that's a kind of specific attachment there too. You attach the Mormonism to what we had just said there, which is like, that was part of the reason why they gave the freedom of religion. It wasn't so the natives could come in and vote for the native religions. It was because they knew, and there were already active like skirmishes and fights. And basically it's always been holy wars between these different groups. And so obviously the idea there was to outline a specific way that they would all honor God, but in their own individual ways, and let the states kind of decide on what they wanted to orient for themselves. Which again, is part of the reason why you look up at all the people who ignored that fact, and then we have the secular society we have today. It's no wonder why everything kind of sucks, obviously.
Did we all stay up too late last night?
Did we stay up too late last night? What is this camera doing?
I think Zeb did for sure.
Zeb has a sick baby today, so that's my excuse. What's yours?
I'm feeling much better now.
Oh, we have to. You and me go get my daughter. We're gonna hold our kids up to the camera.
Let's do it, dude.
We're gonna guilt trip each other now. It's fine. All right, honey, bring in that one.
Let's get I don't know how far back we want to go, but I guess that the idea is to kind of discuss Thanksgiving. We're having Thanksgiving Thursday, and we want to. That's what we've been doing this entire stream, is kind of reaching back, grabbing what we can, and applying it, moving forward. And a lot of times these jokes run around, hey, I got the racist uncle that comes to Thanksgiving and things like that. Moving forward, how much of these conversations, as we've seen throughout the last 8 years, as 16 years, I mean, you can always go all the way back to the 80s, this idea of a moderate middle doesn't really exist anymore. And so we are seeing a major divide happening across the board, whether that's left, right, generational, nationalist, civic nationalist, globalist, gay, straight, whatever it is. Is there any middle ground to ever be had again? Can we ever break bread and turkey with those that we disagree with?
Not in the ideological alignment sense. I think in the sense of directive of country, yes. But there is certain, I mean, like with some of these progressive ideals, especially on like the racial element too, I believe like there's some deep rooted nature to it that I think can't be peeled back. I think on a certain level you can, but I think on the ideological ends, they're not going to be able to meet. There won't be any unity. What we do need to do is strive for like directive, right? Find where it would be meaningful to make compromises, but not ideological, like on policies, right? Make the compromises on, we'll give you this and you give us this. Doesn't mean we agree or endorse it, but if we can get both of these agreements through, it'll push the country at least a few inches in the direction we need it to be. Things like that, that kind of unity. Not unity where we shake each other's hands and we pretend we all love each other, and then everyone goes behind a block and they start sniping each other. They want to censor people, take them off the platform. It's like, it's just pointless. It's like, let's just be honest with each other and try to move things down the field.
Yeah, I've just recently. Do you want to take that? Because I'm gonna change.
Yeah, I was gonna jump on that real quick because actually, I think this is a good point. I think we're all kind of like, where are we going with this Thanksgiving thing? So just to kind of hone it, I think one of the great things about our civilization and this holiday, Thanksgiving, and what it represents is, I get with everything going on, but it represents unity. It represents two different peoples coming together to overcome things. At least that's what the bill of goods we've been sold for so long. And I do actually think that, here on the New American Vision, look, we all talk about things like race realism. We all talk about the problems with immigration that we're facing, the social discohesion that's going on in this country right now because we're letting the barbarians in. But at the same time,
what color are those barbarians, Josh?
Nons. but I think there is virtue, and I do admire. Yeah, a lot of people on the right, they see our tolerance of other peoples as a weakness, and that's why we're facing these problems in the first place. But I actually do think, as 3/4 of us being here, being Christians here, there is virtue, not in tolerance like Atlas says of a different ideology, but not exterminating a people. I do think we need to get in the mind of, yes, we need to basically reconquer this country, but at the same time, be benevolent masters. And I think that something like a holiday like Thanksgiving is kind of indicative of that. I know that at the time, it was kind of I don't know if 50-50 is the right number, but we weren't like, it wasn't fully America yet. We weren't like the masters of this continent. We were sharing it to a certain extent. While nowadays it is ours and we're just doling out little treats to the losers. In order to get out of that, so that we don't become those guys, we do have to reconquer this nation, but at the same time, not becoming hateful, not becoming resentful of the barbarians, but like I said, being benevolent masters.
I think too, another reason to think that way, I agree with you, is not because I feel bad for anybody that I would conquer, but because conquering inhumanely changes you. And
Yes.
To just become an invading horde of retarded whiteness is every bit as dumb as an invading horde of retarded non-whiteness. And it's not just that we're trying to preserve. I mean, you can't lose who you are while you preserve it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, or you're not really preserving it in the first place. At the same time, I think it would be a legitimate question to say, is it so bad, or will it get so bad that it's even sacrificing your own sanity and humanity and decency just to keep the ball moving forward, just to keep a return to values possible? Like, I guess that would be a question for you guys. Do you believe it's possible to return to those values after violent conquest?
And I would say it is. It depends on those values, right? I think I would like to create separate categories for these values. One category being moral. I think moral principles should not be abandoned. And I think that's kind of what John's getting after, where there are other principles that we could stand on when we win that we can abandon now, right? I think me and Josh have mentioned Moon Guy, what's his name, dude? I can't remember his name. Moon, the school board guy.
Oh, Sean Porter.
Sean Porter. Like that's a principle I'm okay with tolerating until we win, and then it's not going to happen anymore, right? And so we can partner with those people that they don't agree with us ideologically, as Atlas mentioned earlier, but we do have somewhat of a similar direction in which we want to take the country. And so when we get there, whether he wants to jump on board, that's a different question. But the mooning will cease.
I would also say this is an issue of perspective and framing, right? And I think the big thing I kind of try to put onto people, the way to visualize this is things are under attack, and they can be under attack in a multitude of different ways. I don't think the average person needs to be given, any instruction when their door's being kicked down and their wife has a gun pointed at them for them to act. But when that is metaphorically happening to their nation, they need some assistance, right? They need some assistance to actually see this is what's happening to you, and so it's like we're very close to basically, these people invading and then the elites abetting them. You basically have a gun held to your head, and it's like it's time for you to act. And so we're kind of at that point, and that's kind of the way I view like the self-defense of the nation as well too. We do need to do things in manners that may ultimately, in a vacuum, may seem immoral. But when given the fact that I would say we are in an ideological war for the identity of this nation, you have to have a different kind of perspective when you approach things. I think we are not in a battle of like, whose tax policy is better than this tax policy. I mean, we're basically a lot of policies being pushed by both different groups will have major social consequences and ramifications because we are trying to determine what is the moral way of life. And you have one wing of the party is wants to do something entirely different than the other wing of the party. And those can't coexist. And so it's not even really going to be a matter of, who's going to convince who. It's going to be whoever can get in the seat of power and be near the levers of power and tell the other group you're not even allowed to get close to them. That'll be the group that will dominate. And it's not going to be who can outbirth one or the other. That is an element of it, but it does matter who can control it from the top down.
I feel a little better already about my own concern. I just remembered to the point of what we're talking about. I always believe anything happening has probably at this point happened before, a version of it has happened before. There was a very Christian part of the world, Eastern Europe, that was getting invaded by Muslims. And it was all falling apart until basically this one single guy came along and just committed some of the most well-known, ultra-violent, horrifying acts in human history. And his name was Vlad Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. He was one of the scariest and most brutal people ever to exist, to the point where he would put a gold chalice on the public drinking well in the capital city and said, if anybody fucking takes this, I'm going to find you and kill you. And it never got stolen, just sitting there. That's how scared everyone of his own people were of him. And yet now, Eastern Europe, in a lot of ways, it's, I think, ranked as one of the safest places where you can walk at night compared to France or England or Germany. It's still highly Christian. I was just learning there was a protest in the Hungarian parliament. So like here we have Antifa, far leftists protesting all the time. They had Nazis protesting because the government was not far right enough. It's like literally the opposite in modern Hungary than it is here. I found that really interesting. So by all metrics that the four of us seem to care about, the land of Vlad the Impaler today is one of the best Christian regions on the planet remaining. And so if it could survive that dude putting literally tens of thousands of people on wooden pegs and drinking their blood, then I guess you can become a pretty big monster and people will be okay. They'll probably be okay because you did that.
Well, there comes a point. There comes a point. And I would imagine, the circumstances that we're under right now are currently kind of formulating, different generations of men, if you will. I don't think you could see many from Gen Z now, but I do think there are some that are going to be staunchly different compared to the typical kind of archetype of man that I think the first world is used to. And quite frankly, it's because the circumstances and the environment's calling for it. And I think given the just simple fact of adaptation, evolution, if you want to, how far you want to believe into that, but just general adaptation, there does come a time where someone's going to see and they're going to stand up and above the weeds. They're going to realize like, hey, actually, I think the way that run things is going to be ruthless, to be dominant, and to not take no for an answer. And so those guys will rule.
So what you guys are saying is the border wall should not be made out of steel. It should be made out of wood spikes. Is that what you guys are saying?
Made out of Hungarians
with heads on them.
That would, if I were Pedro, I'd be a little concerned. I'd second guess my trek to to North America.
Well, let me steal this real quick. We're gonna jump into the second reading. Atlas, you gonna get that for me?
Yep.
All right. Before he does that, let me shill a little bit. Super chat, perfect timing, dude. Super chat just came in. Good fences make good neighbors, and bad neighbors make good fences.
I like it. William May, what's up, man?
Yeah, we can get into this in the second half. It's like history is cyclical. We all know the saying about good men make hard times. We can dive into that in a second. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Mr. William Maines. Yeah, support Nav. Send us super chats. The vast majority of this is going to go back into Nav and propel it forward so we can build better, reach out, get different new creators on here, collaborations, everything like that. Also, if you want to support us, there's a merch link in the bio or in the description. And then also become a member. We have cool coins, and the longer you become a member, the cooler your coin gets. That's how that works. Also, emojis. Toss some emojis in the chat. But as we continue talking about the first Thanksgiving, we're going to dive a little bit more directly into this as Atlas gives us a little summary on that specifically.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up on screen for you guys.
Perfect.
Maybe to make it a bit easier for you to read, since Zeb doesn't want to do any of that. Just kidding. All right, here we go. So it is the second reading here from the Madison 1787 Constitutional Convention. The first Thanksgiving, held in the autumn of 1621, marked a significant moment of hope and perseverance for the Pilgrims of Plymouth Colony. After enduring a treacherous transatlantic voyage aboard the Mayflower in a harsh winter that claimed many lives, the surviving colonists showed extraordinary resilience as they worked to build a new community in an unfamiliar land. Their determination, rooted in religious conviction and a desire for self-governance, set the foundation for what would become one of the enduring narratives of early American history. During their first year, the Pilgrims struggled to adapt to the New England climate, but through steady effort and disciplined cooperation, they successfully established homes, secured food sources, and organized their settlement, assistance from the Wampanoag people, including guidance from Tisquantum Squanto, helped the colonists learn effective agricultural practices. Yet the Pilgrims' own persistence in communal planning were equally essential in producing their first fruitful harvest. When Governor William Bradford declared a celebratory feast to give thanks for their survival in their crop, the Pilgrims welcomed Wampanoag leader Massaout and his people, who contributed venison and participated in 3 days of games, feasting, and diplomacy. This gathering demonstrated the Pilgrims' willingness to form respectful alliances and maintain peaceful relations as they sought stability in their new homeland. Although the event was not originally called Thanksgiving, it later came to represent the colonists' spirit of gratitude, faith, and perseverance. In the centuries that followed, the story became a symbol of the Pilgrims' courage in the early cooperative moments that shaped the developing colonies. While later history between settlers and indigenous peoples grew more complex, the first Thanksgiving remains a testament to the Pilgrims' fortitude and their desire to build a thriving society grounded in freedom and community. The end.
You want to take it, Atlas? Or you want me to kick it?
Yes, I would take it. Let me start off with this. I think one of the first things, actually, as it talks about them getting more complex, right? The relationship becoming more complex later on. And what I would say is this is actually some point that I brought up on the Grape Report last night. For all of those who are kind of on the fence about the unity between the left and kind of bringing those pieces together, you think about it the way we kind of use the Native Americans. Everything essentially is an asset, and you don't need to fully endorse in someone to use them for political gain. And obviously that doesn't sound good or feel good, but that is the game that is being played. It is a matter of trying to use all the different pieces on the chessboard, and whether those pieces are the same color as you, it doesn't matter if you can use them. And I do think that is kind of where we are right now, is this element of a little bit of infiltration, a little bit of, greasing your palms and saying, you know what, I will listen to Gavin Newsom, with the full intention of stabbing him in the back the moment he gives you what you want. And this is not an attempt to be, dishonest, but it is an attempt to match the tactics of what the left is in an attempt to subvert them and get them out of power.
I like it.
The end.
Do you think such a thing is even possible, Zeb?
A unity with the left and the right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I basically tossed this out, like 6 months ago now, that I think a faction of the right would inevitably have to work with the left in gaining the levers of power. And I kind of laid that out with the extreme nationalists on the right are just going to get pushed out of this big tent umbrella into the leftist arms. Not to say that they agree on everything, not to say that they agree on anything, really. It's just the nature of wielding power, and the left understands how to win. The far right understands how to win. They just don't have the numbers. So how do you get the numbers? You work with people that are willing to win, even if it means sacrificing things that they don't necessarily agree with. Now, you're obviously going to have to, if you're on the far right or the nationalistic side, you're going to have to kind of hide your extremist positions to some extent to at least get some of the votes that are necessary. But there are, all of these districts are gerrymandered to an extent. So therefore, if you are able to at least win a primary, you win the seat. And if it has a D beside its name at this point, I don't think anybody even cares. It's just gone that far. What are we smiling at?
Well, I'm just thinking you're going to run on affordability. You're like, you know what? I'm running on, cheap taxes. And then as soon as you get elected, your first conference. All right, guys. Here we are, Sig Heil.
I was laughing because I was like, Nick, listen to Nick Fuentes over here.
No, it's not Nick. I said it first. Nick just happened to jump on the bandwagon.
Thank you for joining, Zeb. We appreciate you.
This is the thing.
Groper General Zeb Boykin.
It's that, it's if you recognize it, it's just there. It just is. And like I said, we called it 6 months ago here on Outside the Overton. It's going to happen. It's an inevitability. You look at I didn't watch the whole thing, but I caught a couple of clips of Aaron McIntyre and Joe Barry on Timcast the other day. Aaron didn't even get to speak, one, but two, Joe Barry's sitting there defending James Lindsay, continuously saying, oh, I don't agree with him, but I'll work with him. I don't agree with him, but I'll work with him. But guess what, dude? He's a faggot. He's an atheist. And you claim to be a Christian and straight, but you'll work with him, but you won't work with someone, a brother in Christ. This is a problem. Talking about Joe Barry
Lindsay,
here. Go ahead.
Well, James Lindsay purposely did a piece with what was it, the American Reformer?
Yes.
To purposely subvert them and then like piece together parts of Karl Marx and then publish it. And then an attempt as an own. And it's like, dude, you're doing what the left did. You're subverting an institution. You acted like you were going to do something for them, completely lied to their face, and then wrote an article just so you could post about it on X. And that's who Joel Berry would side with over us.
Yes, he will, and he'll do it entirely as if he thinks it's a good thing, and not notice the obvious contradiction there. But another thing is, I guess we're on James Lindsay. Dude's got a doctorate degree. I don't know how, but he was following Corey Muller around when Corey did a full-fledged interview with a local news station, and for some reason they just happened across James Lindsay to kind of counter signal that in itself. So this is a problem, is that these people are everywhere and they are leftist in tactics at a minimum. And so the only way to be, and they are infiltrated. They control the rhetoric. They control. They're very deep inside the administration. And so, memes only go so far to an extent. At some point, we have to win. And
what would you say is in common between Seth Dillon, Joe Barry, Barry Weiss, Ben Shapiro, and Dana Loesch, Megyn Kelly? I mean, what do all of these? But they're all gatekeepers, and they all exist. Well, Barry Weiss somewhat on the right. And it's like, so what do they have in common, right? They're all generally seen and typically seen as gatekeepers. And especially now.
I don't want to cut in before someone answers that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I did. Oh, just cut in.
Go for it.
I see. So people use virtue signaling it to describe what the left does. The right does it as well. There's this sort of virtuous competition amongst a certain kind of Christian that they like to express that I will work with anybody. That is somehow like a metric by which the more people you're willing to work, it's like the missionary mindset, right? I will go to Sentinel Island and teach them.
I was thinking different missionaries.
But it's like, wow, you're so amazing. It's like all the there's no Christian missionary programs to rural West Virginia to help those people. They all want to go to not what is the place that needs the help, but wherever is perceived as needs the most help. So in the same way, the left will put those stupid fucking signs in their yard, like, in this house, we suck black dicks and we teach our kids to lick brown assholes, as if it's like, it seems so stupid to us, but that's just how stupid people on the right look to me when they're like, in this house, we put on magic underwear and go to the Congo and teach them about Jesus. And then someone else is like, oh, you go to the Congo? I went to Sentinel Island, baby. And then they get to stay in first place. It's like this stupid, it's pride. It's unchristian in my opinion, but virtue signaling is thinly veiled pride. What's different between the right and the left is the left are way better students of human behavior than we are. And they know that the leadership on the right likes to do that. And so they get them to lean into it to destroy themselves. It's like, oh yeah, you'll work with me even though I'm telling you you're a fucking piece of shit and I'm racist against you. Okay, cool, do this. And then they say, yay, hooray, I just got to go to the fucking Congo for this person. What a great person am I. My reward will come in the afterlife.
Well, and think about how nefarious the virtue signaling is. And I would imagine you guys know why are we talking about Joe Barry? Who was the person contending with Joe Barry? Tim Pool.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, Alwyn was there to do that, but Tim Pool kept cutting in. So.
Right. Exactly. But the thing is it's like Tim Pool is also kind of closely aligned with where they were until recently when James Lindsay started going a little bit against Tim Pool. And so I made the point, I don't even think Tim Pool really is like, going at Joel Berry because he believes what Orrin McIntyre believes even or what he believes where we are at. I view that as a virtue signal to gain credibility because that's how politics works. He knows Joel Berry is an easy target. He knows Joel Berry is a bumbling buffoon. And so Tim Pool is going to take advantage of it, talk at 2 times speed, and then make Joel look like a clown. And Tim what is Pool that helpful for? Because Tim Pool has been bleeding credibility the last few months because of all been what's going on. So he's using that to his advantage. It's like there's no good person here. They're both bad. But it takes time to lurk to know who these people are because they do a good job, making themselves chameleons.
Yeah, in that same vein, we're seeing the transition here, but even the prior transition was this moderate position was held as virtuous. I'm sure y'all remember for a very very long time. It still exists in a lot of circles that I'm a moderate. I have relatively moderate views on this. I'm not an extremist, therefore I am virtuous.
I have a black friend.
Oh yeah, I have a black friend.
Ew. No, I'm kidding.
My best friend is Jewish. Somebody. Pow, 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 pow. Where's your bow and arrow? But yeah, I mean, just obviously taking shots here, but to the point, it's like they find virtue where there is no virtue, and they want to be persecuted. To John's point, they want to be persecuted because to them that is a validating position, right? They a lot of times they'll take the position of God's people will be persecuted, right? So if I'm persecuted, therefore I'm God's people. Their logic is illogical. That is the problem. They are retards, and when it all boils down to it, they're just simply retarded.
Persecution equals good. I will just seek out random persecution, no matter how valid or invalid it may be. I'll go to Sentinel Island, as John says, and get a spear in my chest. But I did the Lord's
Imagine
work.
being able to convince your enemies that they should conduct the persecution Olympics, that the harder they're losing, the better they're doing, and they fucking believe it. That's our
And we'll think
fucking
about how far it's gone too with the Arval project. The guy's literally saying, you know what? We'll just leave society. I'll take these rocks and the pieces of wood and I'll build my house over here, just no blacks. And they're like, he can't do that. Bring him back into society. I need to tell him my piece of my mind. It's like, dude, he's actively saying he doesn't want to be here and you won't even let him go. Like,
you know,
what the
General Patton had a great saying about this to get people to snap out of their stupidity. The point of war is not to die for your country. It's to make the other bastard die for his. And that was like a fucking epiphany at the time, because you had these Christian soldiers just trying to like die gloriously or die saving a fucking wounded enemy or so. Hacksaw Ridge, that movie, that fucking propaganda.
Yep.
It's like how
What? Never seen it.
It's about,
well, of course.
He's like a Quaker or something. He's nonviolent, and so he becomes a medic, and he's just such a hero.
He's
such a hero.
What was he, like Pentecostal? It's like my religion says I can't touch guns, so he just like pulled injured people off the battlefield.
That's exactly the quote unquote hero that our enemies like to manufacture in their Hollywood propaganda. Is like, look at this fucking great loser. Look how hard he lost and won. It's what a winning loser. You should all be like him.
It's a 2-hour Christian movie, and it's all about how Jesus said to be nice that one time. It's like, dude, I hate that kind of stuff.
Around him are all these poor teenage fucking other Christian white guys getting blown up by bombs and shit. And the film's tone is like, look at these fucking idiots. Look at these idiots fighting for their country.
Right.
We don't win by fighting what we hate,
better.
but saving what we love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think the saddest part is all of the guys who are still alive who fought in it today saying, wow, what did I even do all that for? What did all my friends die for? They look around and they see the world that we built on top of the bodies in their tombstones. It's not a pleasant sight, and I can't blame them.
We discussed from that British veteran that said the sacrifice wasn't worth the effort.
Yeah, so I did a full video
worth the result.
Right. So I did a full video with Rodney Berry on that on my channel. It didn't really go anywhere for Veterans Day. I had that video. I had the video of the guy yelling at the parade with the Pride protesters protesting Trump. It was like, give me a gun, I'll shoot him. Obvious World War II veteran. And then a couple of other guys. And basically, I mean, we did, I don't know, was it 35, 40 minutes? But anyway, somewhere in there, I was trying to explain to Rodney that regardless of what you think you fought for, and a lot of this discussion is going to be about perspective, but whatever you think you fought for at the time, whether you lived through that and you fought through that and you think you had something in mind that you were fighting for, it doesn't matter. The result is this, and that is what you fought for. If this is the result, that is what you fought for. And that's what these people need to understand. And hey, if this is a result, this isn't what we wanted. This isn't the result we wanted. Maybe there's something along the way we could have changed. Maybe there's something different that could have happened. But that requires a little self-reflection, looking at, hey, maybe I'm not as up to date, 30,000 view, seeing everybody's perspective and the current perspective of what's actually going on.
And I would add, and a caveat to that too, is it's also the vigilance as well. And this is time and time again, you can find this, like, and one thing that's majorly lacking, and you can see it's with the Trump administration right now, right? Which is they win the election, then they immediately fall flat on their face. They weren't vigilant. It's like, keep going. You can't let up off the gas. There's no point actually you can let up off the gas, right? Evil will always, it won't stop. It's relentless. And so there could have been maybe a future in which we still get the same result in World War II, but if men were vigilant about what was actually happening during then, maybe things would have been different. But that's kind of the point. And you get the bread and circuses, right? The obfuscation, the media deciding what they're going to, show you. And then you end up in these positions where all this cognitive dissonance, people don't want to be upsetting families at Thanksgiving. And it was a bad kind of like, downhill consequence. And a good thing we're talking about Thanksgiving, because what do you think most people aren't going to talk about at Thanksgiving? Politics. But what's the most meaningful thing in their lives and will affect them the most? Politics. What would be more worth to each family to talk about? The Detroit Lions playing the Cowboys, or talking about Donald Trump versus whoever else? And they won't do it. And it's because of that cognitive dissonance that was built in by families. And again, preceding men and fathers and grandfathers and mothers as well, that push to it that it's more important that we just have a good dinner and we'll worry about all that later. Well, worrying about all that later brought us to today. And we're about to have another revolution. And so
later never came.
And I would like to add to that, Atlas, is that all of this tension is built up. I tweeted this morning, and I said my wife's at the grocery store. She's texting me prices, and I quote tweeted the White House saying, grocery prices or Thanksgiving is going to be the cheapest it's been in years, or something retarded. And I was like, somebody's lying. And so as we build up to Thanksgiving, gas goes up.
That's a good tweet, by the way.
Butter goes up, eggs go up, milk goes up, but the government lies to you the entire time. You're struggling to make I don't know what y'all eat. We can sweet potato souffle, right? If you're struggling to build this thing, create this thing, buy this thing, make this thing, bake this thing, Hobson, shout out Hobson last night, Atlas, good pull. Anyway, yeah. As we struggle to do this, it's all built up. There's build up going on, there's stress going on, and then you sit at this table with these people that you probably don't agree with entirely, and then you don't want to discuss it, and then it's just more built up, and then we push it on to the next year, and it's a continuous thing. And if it doesn't get ironed out, it has been, and it will continue to drive families apart, and two, drive a people apart, even if they are.
It's unfortunate because nobody also either knows how to talk either, right? That's also another unfortunate element, and I don't know where that kind of came from, right? And I think the histrionics on it is incredible.
I almost might. I say I wonder if it's more that people don't know how to listen. I think everybody knows how to fucking talk. Like, well, they know how to make noise. I'll give them that. Maybe not to talk.
Right.
I'm sorry. What were you saying, John?
Well, Alice was just saying people like
it's a joke.
I just got it.
Yeah.
But the point does stand, right? And I think it's on both elements, right? There's people don't even actively listen. They're on their phones. And I get this all the time, right? Like I throw my wife across the house for doing this. Just kidding. It's a joke. Don't get upset. But I'll be saying something to her and they're staring at their phone. And it's like, I will repeat this until you stare me in my goddamn eyes. And I will say this again. So I know that you heard me. The same thing is true for talking. And people have lack of social skills. Probably technology goes into that. People know how to type and craft tweets. Take Joel Berry, for example. This brother can craft a tweet like crazy, but when push comes to shove and he's got to talk into a microphone, he sounds like, when I had when I, and it's awful. And when the average person, if that's a thought leader, right? An editor for Babylon Bee cannot even barely speak. Well, of course, the average person, when they can't articulate their ideas, and especially for men, and men in particular, because women will typically overwhelm them with like semantic arguments too. And that's another kind of, that's a sidebar conversation. but that is an element. And so if you can't even articulate the way you're feeling, well, of course, no one's going to be able to understand how you feel. They're just going to hear you like screeching or being angry or just not able to convey your thought across.
There's not to throw a pop culture reference in here, but I think it was really quite well captured in the movie Fight Club. Edward Norton is insomnia. He's depressed. His life sucks. He's buying things out of magazines to try to achieve some image that no one ever achieves. He's the typical modern consumer. He suddenly starts going to these meetings for people that are dying of various diseases. And that's where he meets Helena Bonham Carter. But they're talking when they finally meet. And she asks him why he goes to these meetings. And he says, when you're dying, people actually listen to you instead of just waiting for their turn to talk. And that always stuck with me because from then till now, it's remained true to almost everybody I talk to. You can tell they are just waiting for their turn to say something. Often you can see it happen on their face. You'll be saying something that is 10 sentences long or something, not even that much. In sentence 2, you can tell already they had some thought and they're just going to wait until you finish and then they're going to say whatever the fuck that is. So, and then of course the fact that, he had all these problems with not sleeping, and then it was pretending to be dying and then getting people to listen to him that kind of gave him the wake-up call. I always found that interesting.
Well, it's something to do with like the associative responses. Like, I'll use this example again, like the Nick Fuentes saying he admires Stalin. And it's like, you say those 3 words in a row. It's like a Winter Soldier sequence. It's like people are like, and they immediately go like, oh no, like actually that's bad. That person's a Nazi now. And they can't engage with it in any way that's already basically been prescribed to them, which is here's how you should think about things. And now if you extrapolate that to not just Stalin, but many other people in history, many concepts, many ideas in general, you end up with people who kind of are giving defenses of to which they can't even explain. And you get this in these street interviews where someone goes, okay, so why do you think that? And they're like, well, I don't even think I've thought about that. And it's like, well, of course you haven't. It's because they told you to think it and say it, and you took it for, God's word. And that's a huge problem because there's still people who take a lot of these institutional sources at extreme credibility, almost like as it is gospel. And it's a bad spot, and it doesn't allow for nuance, hence the shackled thinking.
Well, yeah, I think that's a big part of what we have going on right now is we always talk about good men create, bad men create good times, but et cetera, et cetera. And it's basically the level of comfort that we've achieved these days where you basically don't have to struggle to attain anything. And even like convenience stores, you don't have to call your local guy and say, hey, I need this part for my tractor. And he's like, all right, I'll call around and I'll get it here in a week. You can just go to Walmart, get exactly what you need, and never speak to another individual. We've achieved this sort of level of comfort that basically now no one is interacting with each other, and that has this spiraling outward effect where this is what you're seeing. You're seeing exactly what we're talking about. People are just having pre-programmed responses, and to question those things, it's not even simply like we use the example of you're questioning the foundation of your whole reality. It's not even that. It's like you're questioning the reality in of itself. You're questioning like what a foundation even is. And that's just sort of I think that's almost a modernity problem that we're facing now.
Well, and now what we have on the other side of that is there was an era where people were begging for self-checkout machines, right? They were begging for, I want my drive-through to have a kiosk. I don't want to deal with an employee at the window. And it's like, well, congratulations, you asked for it. Here it is. And now nobody has a job. And that is a very unfortunate thing too, which is hanging around the corner. Not many people are talking about it. But I do think the AI takeover, once it does get there, right, where it does evolve into a spot where every Walmart is going to be entirely, there's one employee and it's a security guy who watches the camera. There's like no actual employee in there. It's fearful. And it is something people probably should be thinking about this Thanksgiving. And it's, take it as a warning as well. Like there is no mechanism right now in the US government that can provide for major and massive job loss. Their only option would be to massively print money. And we know exactly how that's going to go.
Have you guys seen these these Dollar General stores, these new ones where it's literally you just have to insert a credit card into the door to be let in, and there's no employees. There, it's just like the entire ceiling is just this array of cameras, and all you do is you just grab what you want, and then it charges the credit card or whatever card you put in to get into the store in the first place. That's what we're heading towards.
Yeah. Well, digital ID's already been implemented in multiple countries. I believe it's like the upper European countries have it like in Walgreens and like Whole Foods as well. I believe it's like the RFID chip is being installed in people's like wrists and hands as well. And I mean, that's where we're going to go. It's going to be the China social credit system. And then what's going to be roped into that is also going to be things that you say. It's why people are so fearful of Palantir. And, this is kind of a cool point too, as well. As I was preparing for the debate with Chuck, one of the end arguments actually that Whitney Webb makes, I believe it's at the end of volume 1, actually, not volume 2. But one of the end arguments that she makes is the reason why you see Epstein a lot more now is because like he was like the last one in the chain. And so like there's obviously these kind of blackmail handlers up to where Epstein's at, but Epstein seems to be like the end of that chain. And the reason being is because they don't need him anymore. We have Palantir. There'll be like an AI surveillance system that'll do everything and be capable of all the stuff that Epstein was, and it'll be easier and it'll be in everybody's home already. You won't need to find all these kind of, special ways to set things up. And that is fearful to think about, which is you will basically be entering a period in which you can look up if you want to, talk shit about somebody, you can hack in and log in and be like, all right, let's look up Joshua Vandernoord. Go, what's his search history say? What's that? La La Land on 2015? Post it right now. And then it's like, and then you're going to start getting exposed. And so they'll have that. So even basic things like some guy cheated on his wife 3 years ago, but is now in office somewhere, they'll hang that over his head. There's all these little things they'll be able to do like that. And it's just unfortunate because we're held victim by the fact that we are just like sinful people and nobody wants to be exposed.
Right. What did you want to say earlier, John?
No idea.
Okay. We have a super chat. Big Island Kobudu says, John is AO right here. Zen Master Thick Not Han. Always emphasize deep listening, truly listening with your heart. So I actually think that was a great point, John. And so I don't want to get too off topic here, but I guess my question to you guys is, have you, because look, we've all done this. I'm sure all of us here have done that, where we genuinely were talking with someone and we were trying to understand where they were coming from, but that wasn't reciprocated.
Yes,
yeah. And I guess, is there any?
It's one of those things that only works if everyone does it and nobody does it. And so now the few people left who are natural listeners, I think I am a natural listener. I'm not honestly naturally a talker, but I don't listen hardly at all anymore. It's just because I know what's coming. What's the fucking point?
Right. There are some tells that are like that. You kind of catch on it too. You'll know when someone's beginning their spiel, right? It's like, oh, here comes the elevator pitch. I heard this one before, and that's what I mean. Like that, there's like these associative responses where, like, because the war happened on the English language for so long, it's like we can recognize these things intrinsically.
Well, yeah, I mean,
99.
It's also going to be they're going to be quoting words from someone on television. Like it's not going to be an original thought they want to say.
That's true.
Exactly.
We actually, Zeb and I, on Outside the Overton several months ago, we had a guest come on the show. He's a crazy character named Jack. He's exactly what someone who only watches TV would think is a South Carolinian. He's like a crazy mountain man, lives out in a shack in the middle of the swamp. And I actually did that. Like, it kind of humbled me. There was one time we were talking, it was me and him on the show, and he was just going on and on and on and on. And I kind of tuned out. And he literally just in the middle of his speech, just like clapped in my face and was like, "Hey there." And it kind of snapped me out of my funk. And I was like, damn, I was doing that. So I think we're all guilty of it, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, some people are just boring though. I mean, like, let's be honest. Some people just suck, dude. Like, it's just hard to listen to. And some people's voices are naturally like sleeping, like somebody starts talking and you're like, yeah, that's great. You're just like, you're out, dude. You're like, and there's a lot of pastors who have it, they'll let their words drag. And it's like, oh, dude, come on. It's like, save the embellishment. Come on. Can we hear the point? Can we get there? Can we arrive? And, there's a lot that goes into it. Communication is not a simple thing. Very, very complex.
That's something like. Go ahead, John, please.
So how did these pilgrims and Indians manage to listen to each other, to give thanks?
Google Translate.
Yeah. Well, no. That's probably ultimately why they were peaceful with each other, because they couldn't understand each other. And I think the more that they did understand each other, the more they began to actually hate each other, or at least wanted to be apart from each other or be separate from each other. And maybe there's a lesson in that too.
There is something to be
Less is
said
more.
about that. Yeah, where it's like when they first interacted, when you just see an Indian, like when a pilgrim first saw an Indian and vice versa, there is this like mystery to it. You don't know what they're about. But then when you get to
You're
know each
saying
other,
well, they
yeah.
liked the Indian woman, but then the Indian men started being a problem. They're like, all right, dude, maybe we need to rethink what we're doing over here.
I want some Pocahontas.
Have you not seen those photos where it's like, this is what Christopher Columbus saw when he stepped foot into Europe? It's like, I don't blame him for colonizing one bit. Yeah, it's funny.
I know, man. Them Spaniards, they couldn't keep it down.
Where them squaws at?
Yeah. Well, East Coast would have been, man, who would have been? Wampanoag was just in here, but the East Coast had like Blackhawks, Cherokees, Shawnee. There's some other bigger ones on the East Coast. I used to have a lot more of them memorized.
Have y'all?
But on that poll,
Have
Go
either
ahead,
of y'all
Jeff.
actually been to Jamestown, like the real location?
No, I have not.
It's a little bit out of both of y'all's way, but it's a very interesting place. And what kind of blew me away when I went was how small it was. This was like someone's backyard. Like you hear about Jamestown, like the founding, the Pilgrims, John Smith, Pocahontas, and it was just like this little like acre of land. It's really interesting. I highly recommend it if anyone is a history buff.
Yeah, well, I think what was it? There was 200. I always get the number wrong, but I think it was like there was like 240 or 273 total on the first three ships. I think something like that. And I think of the ones that made it, it was like 80 of them made it.
Yeah.
And then imagine also the same way that's also happening to like the supplies as well, right? And so that's, I mean, if they didn't have that barrier, they also probably would have not needed to rely on the Indians as much. Had it been a shorter trip across the pond, they probably would have been able to sustain themselves without needing so much reliance on the Indians either. So that would have been a different kind of look at it as well. But because so many of them die, you lose so many supplies that when you basically show up, you're just glad you can get off the boat and be alive. That there probably is something to say about the they needed so much help from the Indians in the early days.
So we have about a half an hour left in the show, and I want to ask you guys, because we're on the topic of Thanksgiving, colonization, and how it is impacting us today, and what is the new American vision moving forward. So I want to ask you guys, I want to get your takes on where does the pre-established American mythos fit into the new American vision, specifically Thanksgiving and the colonization, manifest destiny of the Europeans over the Indians.
Well,
Take it away, John Ward.
No, I'm trying not. No, let Alice go because I forgot
me
what
to
you
go?
said. Yeah.
Well, I guess it would be this. Like, I'm less so of a traditionalist as I think many other people are in this space. Like, I'm very open to being neo whatever. Because I do find there to be a lot of flaws in the Constitution. I would call it a failed document. I think it is. And I would argue that the founding fathers and the intention of the document was for it to last forever, right? Because otherwise, why would you make something if you intended for it to last a year? You know, especially if something of that level. And so I think by those standards, I do think it is a failed document. And I do think that it's not because they were like ignorant by any means, but I think it was because they underestimated just the general nature of humanity and the depravity of the tyrants. And also underestimating just how weak-willed and impotent regular men could become too, given what's been going on. So I'm not sure how much even needs to be wrapped into the new American vision, because I think that's in the name. It's a new American vision. It's a recognizing what was broken about, the previous way that we did things. And so, that's kind of where I step away from people who want to say like, Christian nationalism has to be Protestant, that's where I kind of separate, because I'm not as much of a traditionalist. I don't think I think I would prefer it, honestly, to maintain its Protestant roots, but I don't think it needs to. I think we are at a place where the door is open that we can choose our destiny. We don't need to constantly look back and figure out what the old guys did. We can choose and set our own fates for ourselves.
So the question is, how does Thanksgiving fit into the new American vision? Is that right?
Yes.
He said the old American mythos.
Yes, I mean, obviously, we can't rewrite our history, and our history has led us to this point. But we here at the New American Vision have to come up with something new and different moving forward. So, where should that fit? Where should the old mythos fit into the New American Vision?
I mean, Thanksgiving is fundamentally a harvest festival, which pretty much every culture has. And I am all for the idea. To me, it's just anybody of any spirituality or faith at all taking a break at a time of year where you're harvesting your abundant food and just being like, thanks, whoever, God, whatever you believe in, to allow my survival to be possible. I think that's the unifying element of it that probably happened back in New England with the Indians and I mean, that was just clearly a concept that both of them shared, even though they probably couldn't speak each other's language. The food gets harvested in the fall. It worked out great. We have a bunch of extra. Let's have a giant feast. That's I don't know what the word is. It's natural, it's human, it's normal. Like, I'm all for those sorts of things, just like there's, a solstice celebration and some of these things. Again, the question to me is, maybe it's because I'm older. I don't know. I don't want to exclude anyone that would genuinely follow sort of that golden rule, like treat other, like if somebody could be 300 yards away from me in their house and I'm in mine, and I like, as long as it's never a fucking problem, and as long as they show up when I need help and think, like, if it's teamwork, genuinely, I just can't see a logical reason to not want that. The problem arises when people either don't do that or say they will and then don't do that. And so I don't know, that was kind of a convoluted answer, but Thanksgiving, yeah, I'm a yes on. I like it. Does it have to be this mythos of Indians meeting pilgrims? I think it's much older than that. So maybe
here's
Go
what
ahead.
I'll just inject, because I actually disagree with where you're at on that. I disagree on the openness, right? Because it sounds like what you're saying is, as long as they have at least a general belief in something greater than themselves, right? They're not the people who think man is God,
No,
right? They're the people at least who
that's
believe
not
in
good enough.
something.
No, they need to believe that they don't need to kill you if you don't believe what they believe. That's a necessary belief for me to work with someone.
And the reason why I would disagree with that is because, just by nature of the fact of when a kid grows up, or other people are growing up or exist in a society where you can honor this God, or you can honor this God, or you can honor this God, it naturally opens itself up for people to question, if there's multiple, there also must be none. And if there's multiple, how can one be right? How are the others wrong? And that naturally, that breeds what would be the right word? Atheism, or more Gnosticism. It just breeds a loss of credibility to the actual religion, which I would say is Christianity. And so I think that, for me, I think the homogeny from the ideology, specifically on like the religious end, must be a thing that has to be underpinning everything. And I think what the founding fathers should have more specifically kind of co-opted in there was Christian religions, and then mark the rest out. Because I don't think you can share a society like together and be homogenous. Like, if the base belief is like, as long as we don't harm each other for our differing beliefs, I don't think that prevents what we're experiencing now, which is huge differences in future vision for the nation, right? Because
Right.
if the Buddhist grows up and they get more power, they're going to want to push things towards more of a more open, more natural, less singular, less personable God, kind of deifying entities that takes away from Christianity, and you're giving it a chance. It's like, here's your chance to take over. Here's your chance to
Right.
to
So
make
again, to be
different what
clear,
this is
is
now.
I'm talking about number one in an ideal world that would be able to work. At the same time, I said right after that, I no longer believe that that's possible. Even
Right.
people that say they're willing to do that have, I think, proven themselves to mostly be liars. And so if you're being logical, yeah, you have to sort of do what the Amish did, which is just sequester yourselves and develop ideas that you all agree on. And in fact, the Amish handle it a really smart way. They have this thing called Romspringa, if you know, somewhere around your puberty years, your teenage years, you're allowed a break and you're allowed to go do a bunch of shit that Amish aren't allowed to do. They go drink, they go party, they smoke weed, they do all that. I'm telling you, they're all over the place around here and they do it. And then it's your decision if you want to return and become permanently Amish or not.
Yeah.
But they, in the interest of keeping a homogenous Amish society, they have learned that they need the young adults to have a chance to choose if they want to stay in that culture. And I mean, it's similar to like what confirmation used to be for Catholics, although now you're just told to do it when you're essentially a kid, so you do it. But it's got to be homogenous, but it also has to be a choice.
Right.
Like, I think you need to, and it needs to be ritualized. There needs to be a culturally significant ceremony like Romspringa, where it's a choice. And then that takes care of so many problems down the road. It's because every moment after that, it's your fucking responsibility. You can't really ever complain again about your culture if it's what you chose. And you can't ever complain, well, I never got to try anything else, because yes, you fucking did. The downside of that is your own daughter or son might leave your group. The Amish are just brutally honest about that. It happens. They fucking shun people sometimes, and they stick to it in sometimes horrible ways. Like your daughter got caught with a fucking iPad or something. Like, she's out. And her mom, even though at home crying, I miss my daughter, will not fucking talk to her. And so,
Well, I guess, is that not what kind of college already is?
Is that not? Yeah. Well, college has become this clownish imitation of that ritual.
I have an example, if you will.
Go ahead.
So
Yeah.
so in the Marine Corps we have I'm a sniper. Congratulations. We do what's indoctrination. When you talk about boot camp, that is a choice to join the military, and then you have boot camp, which is a rite of passage, if you will. And then even beyond that, within the branches, you can go every which way you want to, and the higher tier that you go, the more the tougher the indoctrination is that you have to go through. And so I guess to John's point, and that's kind of the same vein, as it's a binding mechanism, whereas, you know, if we're talking about the Amish, the Rumspringer is a binding mechanism if you get through it on the other side without giving into the temptations of the world. So and to the point of the homogeneity and the choice that comes with it, it's a all or nothing thing, right? You either have all homogeneity or you have none. There is no middle ground there. Just like we see with not taking Liberia to its full extent, in a complete repatriation of people, then you get a follow-on from that, which is well, I guess you could go back and argue 3/5, and then from there it's a stepping stone. If it's not inherently right wing, it will gradually become left wing, right? So if we have a 3/5 compromise, we have not deporting all of them or not remigrating everyone, and then you have segregation, and then you have and opening up into the desegregation, and then you have what would it be, the Civil Rights Act of 64. And so it's a gradual encroachment into what I guess you could call an experiment of multiculturalism, but it's been played out multiple times over. So you either get all or you get nothing. And so if you don't maintain that all, you will definitely get nothing.
agree. Hard agree.
Hard agree. All right, let me GeoGasser over here with the deep pockets. Let's jump to a couple of super chats. I had to bounce for a second. I apologize for that. Told you I had a sick kid. That's what that was.
Guilt tripping, dude. Don't need it. Save it.
I'm just trying to do what they tell me that they want everyone to do. They don't want us to be outbred, so I'm just trying to do my part. John needs to jump on that train. Me and Atlas already killing it. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can read it. GeoGasser says, in the moment you standardize Protestantism as a state religion, the Judeo-boomers will use the state to promote Zionism. Yes. I'm assuming y'all were having that discussion. I missed it.
That actually kind of came out of nowhere, but well, not totally, but
no,
not completely.
I think it was in the homogeneity discussion a little bit.
I would imagine GeoGasser is a Catholic.
I think he has a comment right after that, maybe sort of continuing the thought.
All right, we will take it. Thank you for the 5 and 5, which will be 10. See, I can do math, but I can't read. In the current societal model of the USA, the only promoted God is money. That is why theology of prosperity flourishes so easily. It gives what people want. I mean, I'll push back on that a little bit. I wouldn't say the only God is money. That is the primary God for sure is capitalism, and this idea that capitalism has been the greatest thing to ever be created in the history of the world. But at its core, it is a worshiping of profits. And so downstream from that, you have things like Amazon funding travel to get abortions if you're in a state that bans abortions. Like that's the peak capitalism, if you will. And then he says, theology of prosperity flourishes so easily it gives people what they want. I mean, I wouldn't even attribute that to capitalism. The prosperity gospel exists outside of capitalism. I mean, it may be inverted on its own heads when you have the Catholic Church and, prior to Martin Luther, where they were having people pay for their sins to be forgiven. John could probably touch on that a little bit more than me.
Indulgences? You're talking about indulgences? Are you talking about indulgence?
I'm talking about whatever that is.
It's called an indulgence.
Mo juice.
Indulge me, if you will.
Mott Justy. You want me to fuck? No, I don't want to fucking talk. It's indulgence. It's a word. Go Google it. Pay a fuckhead and he'd just be like, congratulations, you're forgiven for $100. Yeah, they really did that. It was stupid. I don't know why people believe that would fucking work, but they did.
I thought you'd have a little bit more on that one, John.
There's a lot of people in hell right now that are out $100.
That's funny. Well, if I could respond to the first super chat, actually, standardizing of Protestantism. Well, here's the thing: it's like if we get that close, and that's where we're at, and the Christian nationalists made it that far, I'm telling you what, Christian Zionism is not going to be around. Like the thought that the Christian nationalists would get that close to the levers of power, and we would not also be addressing the subversion and the lies that is that. I think it's kind of retarded, honestly, not to be rude, but like that would be something that would be addressed.
I would second that to an extent, Atlas, is that they wield power. The Judeo-boomer wields power because of the Zionists and because of the Jew and their backing. They don't wield power because they understand how to wield power. And I think we do, and it's coming. And so if we get to that point, to your point, if we get to that point, they are going to be out a couple of seats, if not all of them.
Well, exactly. And Christian nationalism in of itself is basically a direct response to the subversion of the Christian founding of this country by Jews. You know, they brought in all this liberalism and basically this, okay, I don't give a crap about the Constitution. I want a Christ-centered nation is a direct response to that. So I definitely think that this, the Christian Zionists might use that to get in. It's basically impossible.
Yeah, it's a little blackpilling.
Is that heretical?
What'd you say?
we're circling around, all of us sort of indirectly leaning towards that we need a new covenant with God.
Not with God, with I don't know, each other.
I think God's done his side. I think we owe him a response is kind of more what I'm saying.
I was about to say something real bad. We're going to be sending a lot of people to him. That's what, no, I'm kidding. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah, Josh should be the one to say something like that. How many strikes you want to give the channel, Josh?
Everyone's a Fed, especially me.
It's not biblical, but I always liked Emerson's little phrase, God will not have his work be made manifest by cowards. I feel like God is staring at us all in the face saying, hey, pussy, you want this to change? Go fucking do it. And then you naturally are like, well, I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to die. The system's rigged against me. All true things. He'd be like, you're right, pussy.
Well, I mean, the saying comes from, God will steer, but you must row. And this is also where the parable of the lady in the flood comes from.
Well,
right?
sometimes
I use this all the time.
Our hope, but our failure to take action is sort of an admission that we don't fully believe in him. Correct. That we don't believe in miracles. Like, this is so impossible to do. Why even try? And he says, if you start trying, you might find out that there's some assistance. There's some things you can't predict or expect. There's some people that might pop up. A fucking meteor might hit Washington, D.C. I don't know. That's pretty biblical. But none of this gets triggered until you exercise your free will in fulfillment of the covenant.
You call it meteor.
I would go so far. Go ahead, Jeb. My bad.
I said you call it meteor. I'll call it a nuke.
Hold on, before we move on, and I don't want to. It's just a quick question for John. I don't want to derail the conversation too much here. John, are you technically a deist?
I'm the son of one.
You're the son of a deist. I'd love to. I don't know if it'd be a debate or I don't know. In a Founders episode, I'd love to pick John's brain about religion.
You guys have a vocabulary around Christianity like the Native Americans had about colors for the sky. I just don't know all those colors of blue words. A deist in your head is what?
Someone. So like you wouldn't be a Christian, but you believe in a God of some kind.
No, I would. Christianity is the best by far.
I mean, I would agree, but do you believe it to be literally true?
Catholic.
Right.
Which part?
All of it.
All of it. I don't know what your
Catholicism.
Well, we don't know each other's understanding of it, so I don't want to say yes.
Do you think
yes or no?
That do you believe in Jesus? Do you think he was a real man who did real miracles and is the real Son of God?
Yes, and yes. Although I'd say all of us also have that within us.
I probably shouldn't have brought this up because now we are kind of getting off topic, but this would be a good show one day to pick each other's brains about.
I shouldn't say.
Here, I have a question. Would the New Americans in the 1600s burned you at the stake, John?
No, I think I would have been burning the other people probably.
I think they would have burned all of us.
It's something I'm very interested in having a lengthy conversation. Maybe that can be next Sunday. I can be the heretic and you guys can all come at me.
Do that. Yeah.
I believe
we'll do it on Real Talk.
Yeah, right. I believe, yes, definitely. I think God, it reaches into certain people anyway, at certain times of all different walks of life and faith and genders and races probably too. I think it is a blessing and a massive punishment. Like you're given duties based on your abilities and duties based on the way you choose to exercise your free will. So like what I mean is God's not going to give someone calculus duties if they can't add. God won't give them reading duties if it's Zeb. That sort of like you're just not wired for it.
Do you think God gave?
John, do you think?
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Zeb.
I was just going to bring it back. Do you think God gave the Europeans that left for America that duty to create a new land?
I don't know that. See, this is what I'm saying. I I feel like we or you guys talk about God as if he owes you something. I don't think he owes us stuff. I think once people left the shore and went out into the unknown on some little rickety wooden boat, God goes, "There's my fucking chosen guy. There you are." And then he, it or whatever, it's just I don't think he really cares if you fuck up. Like imagine again, you're describing a being that is all knowing and all powerful, which I believe it is. Like when your small child throws a tantrum and you're not otherwise distracted. Like, do you get mad? Do you judge it like you would judge your equal? I don't want to eat the peas. Are you like, you're an evil piece of shit, burn in hell? No,
Yes.
you just don't fucking care. It's just like, and I think God is just like the perfect parent, but the perfect parent is not your best friend. It's just like, it just keeps coming every time you complain. It'll just be like, we'll try. What do you want me to say? It's your fucking life.
We're
Go
about to
try
be
again.
real hardcore here.
So you don't think
Thanksgiving is, I think that's the covenant maybe we've broken a little bit, is just like,
so you
thank you.
think essentially God chooses the qualified rather than qualifies the chosen?
I think he makes everyone able to turn themselves into a qualified person. And then there's also like the weird schizo Terry Davis type dudes out there that are like his prophets.
So what I would say is there's about, what's the word? Would you consider those logical fallacies? Because the logic, I guess, doesn't stretch, right? I think from somebody who's a lot more read into like Christian,
Sure.
I guess, physics and the metaphysical and all that. Well, I guess I would say this to one of your points though, which was I view it as actually we're not honoring God, right? I'd say it's reverse it. I would say we're not doing enough, right? Like we're over here yelling because it's like our nation is actively basically turned away from God. And I think you can see signs of that too, being ruled by women and children. But also too, like that's one thing where I would just to add this caveat there. I think that's one fallacy a lot of people do is they attribute human and man thinking to a being that literally could not be described by the English language.
Right.
And so I think there's like that third to fourth dimensional kind of jump that like we as these three-dimensional beings, it's like it's too hard to be able to articulate or even make sense of what that dimensional reality is.
If I walk into a physics department in a university and I have physics question, I'm going to be super passive. I'll be like, I need to know this thing. You guys are experts. If they start telling me the equations, I'm not going to be like, no, that's not right. I'll just shut the fuck up and listen. I imagine God to be somebody like that, but in every possible imaginable discipline is just so far beyond anything I can understand that I shut my fucking mouth. I say, thank you for the opportunity even to commune with you or listen, or you won't talk to me. So I will try to observe your signs or whatever. But ultimately, it's a nonverbal little thing that's a reminder whenever I get a little pissy. That's like, are you doing everything you could be doing with your free will right now? Like, answer honestly, John. And every time I get asked that, no, I'm fucking not. You're right. Shit. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And it's like, well, maybe try to do that and then see what happens and what I give back to you once you start doing that. I think Jesus was one of the people that started doing that.
Yeah, I always go to like Job, for example, like Job's book of the Bible, where most people obviously recognize this is a man who had many things. He had a lot. He had many children that honored him. He had many, many animals, and he lost it in all egregious ways, very horrifying ways. And towards the end of it, he's basically kind of gets to the point with God. He's like, why? Right? Like, can you just at least, like, in the most basic sense, explain it to me? And God gives him a glimpse. He gives him a glimpse of like what the plan is, right? Here's look through the cosmic veil, and he's basically like he's taken aback because it's so much. He's overwhelmed, and he's like, you're right, Lord. Like I don't understand. I don't understand the overwhelming nature of the plan and what's going on here. And I think that's one thing I think about all the time, particularly when it's like you are trying to make sense of something that has happened. It's like it's also maybe not even meant for you to understand at all.
Correct.
That could be an element, in the
yes, I am not God, and it's it. I start thinking I am and demanding answers to this shit I have no fucking business to get an answer to.
Right.
Just like your kids want a cookie sometimes, and you're like, no, and they say, why not? And you say, because I fucking said so. Now shut up.
Well, guys,
that's God. God's just better at it.
I
So
think
say
we've
thank you.
established this is why people
Thank you.
come here. This is why people come to see the New American Vision, where we come to the conclusion we don't know what God knows.
Some heretical
Groundbreaking
sermons.
But good show, informative show. I thought I liked learning a little bit about the natives and the Thanksgiving. That's something I hadn't been taught about in a long time, since like fourth grade or something like that. So we appreciate everyone for coming here. Go check out everyone's socials. John Ward, Atlas Thugged, Zeb Boykin, and myself, Joshua Vandernoord. Are we wrapping up? Are we officially wrapping up, Zeb?
Yeah, we'll wrap up. I guess last super chat before we head out of here. And then what's next? Tuesday outside the Overton is next. Atlas, let me get your face back in here. Go ahead, Josh.
Nick won't roast you if you dumb comment in a 500 super chat. Zeb 100.
Go for it.
It disappeared. Zeb 100 correct. Judeo boomers are astroturfed by Zionism. Let's see when Judeo Hindu arrives.
It's coming. It's already started.
Judeo Hindu. It's going to be a tough sell, but they're pretty good at that. So we'll see if it happens.
Yep, you're gonna get Judeo Hindu, and they're just gonna rug pull each other.
Judeo Vishnu will have 8 penises, and half will be circumcised and half won't.
It'll be a tug of war, but instead of rope, it's a
syncretism, right? A syncretic Judeo Vishnu.
Hindus.
It's Medusa, but it's uncircumcised penises.
Yeah.
Instead of Thor's having a hammer like Thor, he'll have a cell phone for calling elderly people to try and get their 401ks.
Turning you to stone, it gives you
like an airstrike.
It makes you
All right, let me close it out here. We want to thank John Ward. All links are in the description. Atlas Thugged, Josh Vandernoord, and myself, Zeb Boykin, for this wonderful discussion we had today. All over the place. We had a Thanksgiving foundation, and then kind of built on from that. Everything always goes back to Christ. That's where we ended it. And if you don't mind, and you haven't already, like the stream, share the stream. We'll see you Tuesday. Become a member and buy some merch. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nav, a new founding Thanksgiving episode. Pieces.
I stand before you today, a free man, no chains, no masters.
It's fourth day of rallies and protests on the streets of Los Angeles.
It was a peaceful rally. What is going on right now is also peaceful.
Here we are expecting rallies later on.
When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
In Los Angeles, there is a new crowd of protesters that has been building.
CNN had it that these were rallies. Now they've become protests. I'm afraid that by tonight they become riots. If we don't have the ability to stand up...
We talk about like the age of information. What we really are in right now is an entertainment age.
They still want to shoot you. They killed Charlie Kirk. They praised it. They want Donald Trump. They want Chirachik. They want anyone they associate with the right. They want to kill them. They brag about this. It's been over a month and they're still going on about it. At some point, you got to say, hey, maybe that's me too.
Hello, world champions. I'm John Ward, and today on Breaking News, we are breaking the fake lie continuum. Get ready for 1.21 gigawatts, McFly, because your mind is a boomer expat, and this episode is the Bangkok Ladyboy Softball Club, and hardballs are also okay too. Also, that club. Sorry, we know good English. And what I mean by that is, not only is your mind about to be blown more times than a lead in a LeBron James Finals series, it's going to get blown in ways you don't want it to. A horror in the midst of which you will realize this is the real soul crusher. You're paying for it.
A free man, no chains, no
compromise, but it is a compromise nonetheless going to have to be made if we are to ever revamp and rework the system, ultimately in an attempt to circumvent any kind of violent revolution.
is the future. There is nothing left for us to do. They have taken it away from, they have stolen it from us. They are thieves. They have no idea what is coming.